Get in the hole. Right, okay. Right. Hey guys, sorry about that dodgy start, but I realised as soon as I pressed record, the battery went down massively because it changes the battery as to what I'm doing, and it jumped from about 125 minutes remaining on the battery to about 10, and I thought 10 minutes is not enough in this video, so I had to stick the power lead in to the actual camera. So sorry about that shaky start, but quite frankly I don't care. This video I'm doing for a very good reason though. My thoughts on Crysis, well, just the Crysis series in general. Crysis, the actual company Crytek released a series. Yeah, they did release a series of games known as Crysis, but that's not the point I'm trying to make, because everyone knows that. Yeah, they released a new trailer for Crysis 3, and it evolved vastly around single player. Now, I'm not going to put it. I was thinking about doing sort of like an overview and go, look, and here it is. But sometimes YouTube can get quite arsy with you doing stuff. It's definitely around EA products. I seem to notice they tend to get more beasted for or slapped, like to say, for featuring and stuff like that. So if you go into Crysis's channel, Machinima's channel, loads of different places, I'm sure that are gaming orientated have shown this trailer. It's about the single player. It has Psycho in it again, and that alone has brought up a load of complaints. Mainly being because he looks so different, but then people don't realise that Crysis 3 is set, I think it was either 20 or 24 years after Crysis 2, and I can't remember the exact amount of years, but Crysis 2 was set quite a while after the first two Crysis games, so he's going to have aged by at least 20 years, so he's going to look quite a lot different. He does sound different, yes, but if he's been in America for that long, chances are he is going to start losing his British accent. For example, I'm taught in one of my lessons by an American, one of my tutors is American, and he doesn't really have that much trace of an American accent because he's been in England for so long that you can't really. You can tell he's got American in him, but it's not as obvious as it would have been when he first came over, for example. For my older brother, for example, he's moved further up north to England where they have a slightly different accent, and he's turned into a northerner, as we put it. So, yeah, so accents change, and that's not going to happen, but that's not why I'm making this video. The reason I'm making this video is, now I got quite sick of all this talk when Crysis 2 first came out, and it died down a bit, and people accepted that Crysis 2 was actually quite good looking, and now it's started again. Or I assumed people just accepted actually it is quite good looking. But it started again, people have been hating Crysis. Good old Robinson's juice now. Yeah, and they've started slagging off Crysis 2 again. Now, the thing that annoys me the most is when they slag it off and they're comparing it to Crysis 1. Now the reason why, Crysis 1 and Crysis Warhead have completely different environments to Crysis 2. Mainly being Crysis 2 set in a city, sort of a major city in America, one of the biggest cities in America. As far as geography goes for me, I'm not big on American cities. I know that New York's in America. I know that it's not the capital, but I know a lot about the Big Apple. I know that it is a fairly big city. Now, there's Crysis and Crysis Warhead on the other hand. They're both set on what is effectively a abandoned Korean island. So that's already a stark contrast to what you actually have. You've got this abandoned island where all the population has gone, and it looks like it's been gone for quite a while because there's not a lot of livable places in there now. There are some around the coast, but as you get into the island there isn't a lot. Yeah, and it's been abandoned for quite some time. There's very little buildings, it's mainly woodland and there's plant growth. Whereas in Crysis 2, you do have a forest, but it's a different kind of forest. It's a concrete forest. It's just skyscrapers everywhere. Now, what I keep saying to people is, whenever I hear someone now complain, Crysis 2 looks shit, I just go, why don't you go, get the SDK for CryEngine, like on mine here, and this is actually the SDK for CryEngine 3.4, this is the actual one, the updated CryEngine 3 that Crysis 3 is going to be based on, but you can still get the regular version 3. Take that, open up a Crysis 2 level and make it more beautiful. And I don't just mean put higher res textures in, because that's not making it more beautiful, that's making it more detailed. What I mean by making it more beautiful is make concrete look beautiful. I challenge anyone to do that. There's no way I can think of personally to do that. If you can, make a video of it, email it to it, and I'll put it as a video response. I'd love to be proven wrong on this, but I've never been able to see a concrete skyscraper be made to look beautiful. Another key word in that is concrete. You can't just take out all the concrete and have a full glass skyscraper, because that's just completely different. You can't, and you're also not allowed to take the approach that Crytek are now doing with Crysis 3, where the buildings are all destroyed and they've got plant life coming out of them, because again, that's not what I'm asking for. I'm asking you to make the actual concrete itself look beautiful and the building look beautiful. I can guarantee it's impossible. Now I have done a bit of since Crysis. I've played around in all the CryEngine sort of the sandboxes. So with Crysis 1, with Crysis Warhead, with Crysis 3, and now this one, which is a standalone one. I've played around with all of them. I haven't properly designed levels, but I've sort of made levels, if you get what I mean. This isn't one that I've made. This is one that's included in the game, and when you download CryEngine 3.4, yeah, it's this one that I downloaded with it. I never realised it was actually going to make my graphics card scream so much, and I have actually had to turn my fans up. Which is, if you can hear it, that's probably what it is. Or if not, it's the boiler that's just got shot there. Not a lot I can do about that, because the boiler's going to be on for another... Well, normally it turns itself off at 9, and it's currently 9:30. So the fact that it's still on confuses me, to say the least. But I'm just leaving it. I haven't even got my radiator turned on, it's for the rest of the house. My window's actually open. So, there you go. But yeah, so that's one point I'm trying to make really, is Crysis really isn't that bad of a game. Once you actually look at it and compare it to other city environments that you get, it is the best looking city game I've seen, quite frankly. The city looks better than stuff like GTA cities do. And basically GTA, for as long as I can remember, has always had some sort of city base in it. Now, one thing I want to stress is, the reason why in my opinion, Crytek are the best game developers when it comes to making games looking beautiful and having some sort of story to it. I know you've got stuff like Unreal Engine. They're good, but not really. How often do you actually see a game developer come out and go, we're using the Unreal Engine? Not very often. Whereas Crytek actually have a lot on their plate at the moment, because they are meant to be developing time split. They do own the rights to time splitters, and it has been spread in the past that they are making a new time splitter, but I don't know how true that is. Considering they bought the rights to it, it wouldn't surprise me if they are secretly doing it for next gen or something, just because it seems like a good next gen console sort of launch title for Crytek is time splitters, just simply because you know, what better to get Crytek on the map than a game that everyone's been asking for so many years, and they do it as a launch title with a new console, with a new generation of Xbox or new generation of PlayStation, or for both. So, well, most likely will be for both. So yeah, that one is spicy. But you know, they've got Homefront 2. They are apparently actually in the process of making. I think there was a trailer for it. I can't remember if they actually released a trailer for Homefront 2 or if they yeah, I can't actually for the life of me remember if they actually released a trailer or if it was just an article that was posted online and just spread. You've also got the new Sniper Ghost Warrior game, Ghost Warrior 2. That's based on CryEngine 3. I'm not sure if Crytek actually developed it or if the developer themselves bought the rights to use CryEngine 3. But, you know, that's the thing. CryEngine 3 is a lot more used engine is what I'm trying to say basically compared to some of like, I mean, people sit down and go, Frostbite 2 looks good. It's like, yeah, it looks good. I would say, I don't think Battlefield 3 looks as good as the original Crysis. Now I know, like I said, they are different environments. And it's been so long since I played the Battlefield 3 single player. I don't really play multiplayer, but from what I can remember of Battlefield 3 single player, when you were in sort of woodland type areas, it didn't look as beautiful as the first Crysis in my opinion. And when he was in the more city environments, which I do remember quite well, surprisingly, it didn't look as good as Crysis 2 in my honest opinion. So, yeah, in my opinion, Crytek, along with CryEngine 3.4 as it is now, are the only ones that can actually, in this current generation, this current outdated generation, are the only ones that can actually make Crysis look, well, make games look beautiful and play fairly well. And this is going to bring me on well to my next point. The other argument I hear thrown about a lot is about optimization and how Crysis 2 was, pardon me, was made for consoles in mind. I think personally that's ridiculous. I'm going to have to take another drink. I will say I've got a bit of a sore throat, which is why I'm drinking a lot, because I'm quite thirsty because of the sore throat. So yeah, I've drunk about 4 litres I think today, so of just random crap. Which probably doesn't help, but at least 2 litres of that was water, so I'm not bothered. But yeah, so a lot of things what really annoyed me was coming up to Crysis 2 release, a lot of people were sat there going, oh, I hope they optimise this game better because I can't even max out Crysis 1 on my computer and it's 3 years after it came out and blah 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 this. I only get 10 frames a second maxed out, blah 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 that. And then all of a sudden, Crysis 2 come out and they can max it out at launch and they were like, why couldn't it have been more like Crysis 1? I can't max out Crysis 1 but I can max out Crysis 2. It sucks. And I just sit there and go, what has happened in this world? There's certain people in this world that just like to moan. You can't please them, and that's the kind of people. I think a lot of people just, they moaned that Crysis 2 was too demanding on their, well, Crysis 1, sorry, was too demanding on their system. When Crysis 2 come along and it fixed that, okay, yes, it did miss at launch the DirectX 11 and the high-res textures, but I personally think that might have been because Crytek weren't quite ready and they couldn't really afford to delay it again because they'd already delayed it at least, I think it was 2 times. I think it actually came out a year after its original release date, and then it was going to go head to head with the Call of Duty games, and it got put back again to when it finally got released. So I personally think that reason was why, because they weren't quite ready, which you can't blame them for that. It's not like they, okay, yes, technically the game should have come with it, but there's nothing you can do about it. And they've still done it. They never charged extra for this. If I can guarantee, if Activision come out tomorrow and went, hey PC users, we've got a high-res texture pack and DX11 pack for Black Ops 2, I can guarantee the next line will be, but you have to pay £10 for it. I can guarantee, and that's what Activision like. Whereas Crytek went, yeah, we promised this, you know, we said we was going to do a more advanced game, we haven't yet, here's the patch to get that support in. And that's, so, in my opinion, it wasn't, I'm happy with Crytek for that. Even before that patch came out with the high-res textures and the DX11, I still thought Crysis looked quite good. No, I have to turn it off. So, but hey, I'm one in a few that sort of done that. But yeah, so like I said, a lot of people did complain saying that Crysis 1 was bad because they couldn't max it out on their system, and then when their new game came out and they could max it out on their system, it was bad because they could. There's some people you can't rent. It's just how it is. Like, people moan the game's not optimised. Either way, if it struggles to run on your PC because it's so demanding, it's badly optimised for PCs. If you can max it out on your PC, it's badly optimised for PC, and it just really pisses me off because I think, although graphics does play an important role, and I think Crysis did sort of play a role in making people think, well, you know, they did expect better graphics from Crysis 2 because of Crysis 1, but what you've got to remember is Crysis 1 was like out of this realm. No one had ever seen such a thing before with such visuals from any game ever, and it had that wow factor which the second one was never going to have. You know, best way to describe it is if you walk into a surprise party, you open the door and everyone goes surprise, and you're surprised, but if you then shut the door again and open it again and everyone goes surprise, you're not going to be shocked but they've done it. Well, actually you might be shocked again going, why did you just do that again? But yeah, you won't be shocked in the back, it's like, wow, that's amazing sort of thing. It was never going, Crysis 2 in my opinion, was never going to fully live up to the Crysis 1 name. Like, it's sort of present as being such good graphics just because although technology had advanced quite a lot, not a lot to actually make it that much better. It was just sort of improving stuff slightly, so like with lighting and stuff like that. So that's all it really improved. And once the DX11 and high-res patch come out, it sorted that out, and there are even high-res textures on my Crysis 2 at the moment. I want high-res textures that I've downloaded. There's a mod that I've downloaded, and it replaces near enough every single texture in the game from even more high-res ones, and all that does is it adds more detail. It doesn't, and very little does the more detail actually make the game look better. That's an important thing to remember, and you know, that's another point. An argument that was thrown out quite a lot with Crysis 2 as well was being how linear it is. If you watch my Crysis 2 playthrough, you'll see how it's not linear. You just got to look more for the rays. The thing is, with Crysis 1, I think what really helped with that being seeming so open, it wasn't actually as open as people were claiming it to be. You know, try and swim out to the point that the island's not visible anymore and you can't do it. In fact, I don't even think you can swim out to most of them little islands off the coast at the beginning of the first Crysis. So that just goes to show how closed it is, and try and walk this as soon as the game starts. Just try and walk into the centre of the island. You can't. It is quite closed. The reason why it doesn't feel so closed as you'd think it is, I think it's mainly because it doesn't have that mission objective stuck on your screen. Like that, like if you look that way, you can see the arrow pointing down for the mission, which is often quite described as spoon feeding you the objective. It's basically going, you can't work out for yourself where to go, so you have to go that way. Which you get in Crysis 2. If you look ahead, you can see the arrow saying, like, that's the objective. And when people see that, they automatically just follow it, and they do it the closest way they can. So they just walk that way. If they come across the wall, they move out the wall and keep going. Whereas if like with Crysis 1, if you actually, before you enter an area, stop, look around, and you can see the objectives over that way, and there's a load of enemies there. If you actually stop and look around, you can go, well, actually I can go that way, go down there, go underneath them, then go up above them. And instead of it just being open space like that, it's open up and down sort of thing. It's open so you can go further up and you can go further down sort of thing. And that's why it's different. And the reason why that is again because of the buildings. I think people were slightly expecting the fact that were expecting you to be able to enter every single building on every single level of every single map. Sort of every single building in a level makes more sense. And again, that was just never going to happen. Now I'm not saying that's because it was developed with consoles being there in their mind, but possibly it was going to happen. It wouldn't have happened if it was just PC exclusive like the first Crysis originally was. Because remember, Crytek, when developing for a PC game, not everyone wants water-cooled i7s with two 680s, you know, or at the time it was like RU7s and two 580s. You know, not everyone wants sort of them big setups. They've got to cater for the people that are still using old DirectX 9 games that we're going to DirectX 9 graphics cards, that's the word I was looking for, graphics cards, all the way up to the people using the latest £400, £500 DirectX 11 graphics cards. They've got to cater for all of that. So if they want to get the maximum profit they can off of the PC, like with Battlefield 3 for example, that only ran in DirectX 11 mode, and that did take out, I think it was actually only a small portion of their actual sort of market, of the PC market, because I don't think a lot actually still use DirectX 9 these days. But it still took out a market, whereas Crytek sort of went, you know, most of you guys were our original fans on our first game, we're not going to deny you the opportunity to play our new game. So I think even if Crysis 2 was a PC exclusive, it still would have had the limitations it has, because maybe it might have had a couple more like buildings that you could enter, but you couldn't do much in them if you could enter them, because you've got to, like I said, you've got to account for people using 2 gigs of RAM. Not everyone like me has 16 gigs of RAM. So that's a very little amount, but they can actually, if they're using 2 gig, they were quite sort of stuck really. And it's like when they released DirectX 11 and the high-res textures pack, they actually made it so to run them, you had to have a 64-bit operating system. The amount of people that moaned was unbelievable. I'll truthfully say, I did not realise there's that many people still using like a 32-bit version of Windows, but apparently there was. And quite a lot of the Crysis fans did actually complain that now they can't run it on their system, and it's this stuff like that. But yeah, Crytek did try with Crysis 2 to try and cater for all markets, and that's what I salute them for. They did. I'm not going to lie, Crysis 2 might have been catered slightly more, definitely on the multiplayer side for consoles. I don't tend to play multiplayers. In fact, I haven't touched the Crysis 2 multiplayer. I played the beta for it, and that was it. I did enjoy it, but I don't buy games for multiplayer. I personally prefer to play single players, and I have the most fun on Crysis games in single player because I actually find them more of a challenge. I like going into Crysis 2 and going, like, well, that's the route I've took before. Can I take this route, or can I, you know, I try and mix things up. I find that much more fun than going on multiplayer and shooting people from the other side of the round. But yeah, so that's basically my opinion on this Crysis series in general. But mainly my focus was around Crysis 2 and how people keep slagging it off, and I really don't like it anymore. It is starting to get on my nerves. Like I said, if you can do a better job than what, in my opinion, are the best game developers at making beautiful games, at making a city beautiful without destroying half of it and putting plants in their place, then go ahead. I challenge you to do it, because I must admit I've tried in the Crysis, in the CryEngine SDK, and you can't do it. I am probably going to leave this video here now because it's been 25 minutes of me making love to Crytek basically. So seeing as it has been such a long video, I didn't actually anticipate it being this long. I actually thought it would be about 15 minutes at most. But what can you do about it? I'm going to say, if you've survived this long in my video, thanks for watching. You know, comment, rate, subscribe. Did I just say rape? Please don't rape me. You can rate me though by pressing the like or dislike button. Prefer if you press the like button, but I don't really care if you don't, because I don't really care about that sort of thing. Because if you dislike the video, just don't watch any more of my videos. I don't care. So yeah, so comment, subscribe. They're the two I do like. Definitely like you subscribing, and definitely like having comments posted and having a banter about various things. So what's your opinions then on just the Crysis series in general? How do you think it went with Crysis 2? All that good stuff. So yeah, this is Mr. Strawberry with another video, and what's the time? Ooh. And I'm probably going to go get some food because I'm hungry. So goodbye.